end of the day. We're so happy, following the blues. We love you, what more can we say? We have the socks here at St Andrews.
Ladies and gents, girls and boys, it's 7:30, it's Monday night, and of course this is the Tilton Talk Show, it's what Mondays are for, sponsored by Boyle Sports, principal sponsors of Birmingham City Football Club, and of course M&A Riley, French Polishers, and the Garrison Coffee Company, of which I have some here, the Tilton Talk Show blend. We are blessed tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because Paul Hipkiss has come back for a start. Hello, welcome, Paul.
Evening all. Good
glad you're on the men, buddy. Glad you're on the men, mate. Mr. Rowe.
Frozen now.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're okay.
And Chairman of the Board, Alan Watton.
Good evening, everyone.
From myself, good evening from Chris Browne, Mrs.
Good
Browne.
evening.
No Ollie tonight, Chris?
No, he's not. He's
no,
not
okay, no bother. And of course, the one and only Mr. Craig Courtney.
Good evening all.
Where the show wouldn't go very far without you, sir, because you do so much work for us, and we really, really, really appreciate it. I don't know where you get the time from, Craig. I really don't, mate. I promise you. And we're joined by ex-Blue Star and tank machine, the one and only Tommy Mooney.
Evening, fellas. Thank you for the invite.
Mate, it's an absolute Right, okay, first thing we do on the show, Tommy, is we ask our listeners, and they're all writing in. We can see the shout box going mad now already. Who, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, is Tommy Mooney's alter ego? Who is Tommy Mooney's alter ego?
Three guesses.
Oh. Well, what can I say? 1-1 Cardiff. We were winning again. Last minute again, wasn't it? Oh, my God. Just can't hold on to that lead.
It's becoming a running theme.
I know, Chris. I know. And at the start of the show, we congratulate Fulham for their entry to the Premier. Is it the Premiership or the Premier League nowadays? It's been that long since we were there. I can't remember. To the Premier League. They've just beaten Luton tonight 7-0. It was a stunning game of football. It was brilliant to watch. And I don't understand why we can't be like that. I really don't. I really, really don't. But there you go. That's another story.
Money?
Rumours circulating around, of course, about BHSL selling up. All kind of things with Mike Ashley in the frame. Spoke to my friend from Newcastle last week. He just wrote back, good luck with that, with lots of laughter at it. So, Mark, did you go to the game?
I did. I went to Cardiff Saturday.
Right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Synopsis?
We looked very comfortable. It was it did have an end of season feel about it. It was very, not much of a spark. The home support was totally silent. Going to Cardiff, it always brings back good memories of the playoff final.
Of course, yeah.
Game-wise, I'd say we looked well in control, and then we just, rush of blood by Etheridge, and we just threw it away yet again. And we've said that numerous times this season. It's just silly mistakes. That's like the second week in a row, another silly penalty. But I've got to be honest, the general normally the last away game, we do make an effort, regardless of where we are in the league, we do make an effort fan-wise, but everyone just seemed absolutely drained. We wasn't as loud as we normally are for the last away game. And I got the feeling everybody sort of wanted it to be the last game.
Really?
I think for me as an our attacking players just need to be more clinical when the chances come, And Tommy, as an attacking player yourself, on the coaching field, does it make a huge difference? Do you actually need coaching to put the ball in the back of the net, or is it just a natural gift, do you think? Throughout your career,
it's more a case of the knowledge of being in the right place at the right time, which is the knack to scoring goals, isn't it? And then when you get that chance, it's being composed and letting everybody else be the hotheads around you and be calm and try and slot it in whatever corner you're picking. But look at the front players in the squad. You had Troy, Jukovic and Scott Hogan on the bench on Saturday. So you go in with a front two, and then you've got them three on the bench. But there should be goals in that squad. It's whether there's enough chances created. Obviously, as part of the strikers' union, I'm going to blame the midfielders and everybody else for not putting the ball in the box often enough. If the ball comes in the box, then it's our fault.
Yeah.
If it's not coming in the box, you can't be expected to score goals from outside of the box. and still get your 15, 20 goals.
No, exactly.
I think we get the ball in the box often enough. We don't get our forwards in the box often enough. You know, it's 1 against 4 when we get a cross in. This is, you know, we don't overpower the opposition. We're relying on perfect crosses, you know, so it picks the one man out that's there.
Yeah.
Alan, did you go or did you watch it on TV?
No, I only saw the highlights. I saw various versions of the highlights. Our own version showed a lot more of our attacking play, which, you know, we played some good stuff, but the ball in the box doesn't find its man. And, you know, we can argue whose fault that is. But that's a fact. The two don't marry up. Get good crosses in, there's nobody there.
Craig, your thoughts. Sorry, Craig's thoughts.
Oh, go on, Craig.
I mean, I watched the game and I thought it was a typical end of season. We're not playing for anything game. Agree with Mark. I mean, I was really surprised because normally there's decent atmosphere down in Cardiff, and it was really, really quiet. I don't think, firstly, that helps the game. I don't think it ever does. If there's a decent atmosphere, you do tend to see a different performance from the players. But all in all, we were on top. For a change, listening to some of the Sky commentary as well, they actually were putting us as the favoured team, which was very unusual. Obviously, they'd been drinking before they went on air, but overall, it was just a typical end of season. And I agree, it's extremely flat. The whole, I think, atmosphere around everything at the moment is flat, and it's actually not pleasant. It's not pleasant at all.
No, it's too much going on, Craig, isn't there? Right, back to your comment, Paul. Sorry,
Nicky. I was just going to say I'm going to sound like a broken record now again, but when we had James Beattie, that was the best goal-scoring season we've had. When we had James Beattie as our coach with Gary Monk, that was the best goal-scoring season we'd had for years, you know, since Chris Hughton was here. You know, and I just think, you know, if we can get somebody on the coaching field with, you know, like James Beattie or like yourself, Tommy, or someone who can teach them, you know, to be in the right place at the right time, then I think that would make a world of difference, because I think we've got the players there to do it. They just need to be coached properly.
Yeah. Tommy, have you got your coaching badge, Tommy?
I have, yeah. I did. I actually completed my coaching badges while I was playing for Birmingham.
Really?
So,
okay.
Yeah, so a long time.
Is that unusual or is that not unusual?
I think it's more now. Perhaps I was a little bit early. Normally, I mean, I was 30, 31 when I came to Blues, and then didn't retire till I was 38. So I had aspirations to go into coaching while I was playing. And I suppose it's that 30-year-old mark, all of a sudden you're a senior pro. So whether you're a coach or not, whether you're captain, you're a senior pro in the dressing room. It's your responsibility to help the other players out. And I just see that coaching as a natural progression from that side of it. And if I'd stayed in England and never gone to play in Spain at the end, I'm sure I would have gone into a player coaching role at Walsall, where I eventually finished in England. But then when you go to Spain for 3 years, it's more difficult to come back and then into a job. But I think it's all right having somebody that can coach Monday to Friday. You've still got to have the player that knows where to be, how to make his runs. You can tell them on a between 10 and 12 o'clock through the week on the training pitch, but they've got to want to do that on a match day as well. Because invariably, most of the time, you've got to go into a body of players. That's where you're going to get hurt, or you've got to run a little bit faster or a little bit smarter than somebody else on a match day. So, I agree with what you're saying about the coaching. Listen, we've had goalkeeper coaches for 30 years. Yeah, I don't get why there's not, independent position-specific coaching. I fully agree with that side of it. I've coached in academies as a position-specific coach, working with young strikers. So, I think that will come. The problem is now you've got more analysts and physios and sports scientists. Where are the other coaches going to sit on the bus?
Yeah.
Football is the only sport that doesn't have specialist coaches. All the American sports will have
NFL
will have defensive
Mm.
coaches, offensive coaches, kicking coaches, whatever.
Yeah. But you know what else they have, Alan?
Cricket, whatever.
You know what else they have, Alan? Two coaches to take them all down.
yeah. But football seems to be behind in that. You only talk about goalkeeping coaches, which is the obvious. But they are the different positions have so many specialist needs. Yeah, we can all teach somebody to trap a ball and pass it properly and blah blah. But learning how to defend is an art that you don't pick up overnight. Mm. And the same with scoring goals. Some people are blessed and just turn up at the right time. Others have talent, but nothing here.
No, exactly. Yeah. We had a good early question coming in for you, Tommy, from Stephen Gill. He said, "What was your favourite goal for Blues, and what was your favourite goal throughout your whole career as well?"
I suppose technically for Blues would have been the one against Norwich. I think it was my second one of the hat trick.
Yeah, it was a world
outside of the box. I scored more goals for Blues outside of the box than I did for any other club. Most of my bread and butter goals were in and around, you'd call it the 12-yard box.
Yeah. I was at Stockport. I was at Stockport when you got a worldie there as well, with the outside of your left foot, sort of curled it round the keeper. I remember that one.
That was just because I was knackered and I didn't have it in me to take another touch. And I just thought, I'll give it a go.
Quality. That is up there. That is proper quality. I really.
Chris, I can remember your goal at Millwall. From the free kick, and obviously we're the other end, and you kicked it straight in the wall, and there was and then it come back to you, whacked it, it flew in the net.
That was hours on the training ground. That was
hours on the training ground.
It's difficult to get it to come back off the wall like that, but we managed it on that day. That was the plan.
And in your whole career, Tommy, what about throughout your whole career? Have you got a favourite goal in your whole career?
Have you still got the match ball?
I've still got the match ball. Yeah, it's in my. Yes, it's in the loft. Yeah, my dad's.
In the loft.
It's in the loft. At my dad's.
Tommy Mooney. Listen, mate, I've never played football in my life, and I've got a museum to Birmingham City Football Club in my house.
No, I when I moved out to Spain, everything to do with my career was my dad looked after. So. Everything's in there, but nothing of any value. Just
No, it's personal value.
Personal value.
Personal value, and I've got things in my room down the bottom there. I've got a great big plastic check. I won £1,000 on the half-time lottery draw, and it's a really long story. But I had a 2-page spread in the programme, right in the centre. When I wrote in and told them what I did with the money. And, they're personal things. And I think, irrespective of whether they are worth, a fortune or worth nothing to anybody else, they're yours.
Yeah.
But Sorry, can I mention this because I forgot to mention it last week. Wendy Mills, she says, hi all, please can you join me at Saturday the 7th of May for my hair shave awareness for male and female fans for breast cancer. A Blues 10 lady supporting one of our own who's in remission. The changing room bar Tilton. Thanks in advance. That's from Wendy Mills. So
what day?
That's on the day of the game, 7th of May.
Match day.
Okay.
I'll be sharing a Just Giving link as well after the show for people to put donations into for that. So look out for that.
Yeah, good luck with that, Wendy. Good luck.
Steve Portman says, evening everyone, can't stay on long, been a heavy weekend emotionally, physically and mentally. Hope everyone is okay. Yeah, we're okay, mate. And do you know what, more than that, Steve, we hope that you're okay.
Yeah, I'd just add at this point as well, fantastic stories from Excessive Blues and brilliant work as always that they're doing with the tickets that have been gifted to the 2 lucky supporters for this upcoming weekend's fans and players joint meeting / end of season dinner. So well done to those that have got through, but even more importantly, fantastic from Excessive Blues again.
Always at the forefront doing so much good for so many people, and they're beautiful people as well. Off you go,
Paul.
Could I just say that in 10 days, I can't speak. In 10 days' time, it's 20 years since that wonderful day in Cardiff when we got past Norwich on penalties. Yeah. And I just want to reminisce sort of that season, Tommy, because you was top goal scorer that season, and you was my player of the season as well. You must have got goal of the season. So yeah, talk us through sort of like how the move came about in the beginning, and just talk us through your memories of the season as well, because that was the season Trevor went as well, wasn't it? And obviously Brucey came in and got us over the line.
Yeah, it was. It was. To be truthful to you, it could have happened in the March, the season before I came.
Okay.
I think Trevor had tried to get me in just before the window shut. Well, it was deadline day then. It wasn't a window.
Yeah.
But Watford still had a chance of getting into the playoffs that season. Obviously, we'd been relegated from the Premier League. And the gaffer he wasn't going to let me go. Graham Taylor wasn't going to let me go. They'd offered, even though I was out of contract at the end of the season, I think they'd offered 500 grand. So, the club left it to the gaffer because he made all the decisions. And I never got to speak to Trevor. But as soon as that season ended, I knew I was leaving Watford. Vialli was coming in. He wanted a clean sweep. I was out of contract. So I spoke to 8 clubs in the Championship, and then of which Birmingham was one. Went and met Trevor and his late wife Helen at their house. I had breakfast in the garden, and they made a big impression on me. And as I was driving back to my Hertfordshire home with my agent, I had a call from Walter Smith, who was the Everton manager. So I obviously delayed Birmingham for another day and went to speak to Walter Smith because I didn't want to. I always felt if a club wanted me to sign for them, I owed it to them to speak to them. I never said no to anybody straight away. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I was on a Busman, so it was a big financial decision for me. And I actually turned down Everton to come to Birmingham, probably because, I always knew I could play in the Championship and do really well and scored a lot of goals. And the Premier League, I wasn't a Premier League player. So I wanted to enjoy my football. The contract was exactly the same. So it wasn't much of a decision, really. I thought I'd play more games at Birmingham. And having spoken to the owners and Karen and Trevor, I felt we'd have a real good chance of getting promotion. And I loved promotions.
Yeah.
So it just fell really well. Having said that, there was only me and Nico signed in that summer. Mm. The owners and Karen had told me we'd be signing 3 or 4 more players. That didn't happen.
What, owners lying?
No, yeah. Who'd have thought, eh? But then obviously, I started well. I think I had 4 goals in my first 5 games, and then I cracked my ankle. So by the time I missed 2.5 months, by that time I think Trevor had got the sack, and Brucey was coming in, and then all of a sudden the players start to arrive then to help the ones out that we already had. So it was a tough time, I've got to be honest, because I was close to Trevor. In fact, I bought a house 4 doors down from Trevor and Helen. That's how good our relationship was.
Okay.
Because Helen was brilliant. She got the kids into a school. She made the kids feel like princesses and a prince, and it was just a lovely relationship. Jeez. So I felt that was difficult for me, knowing I couldn't help Trevor. In fact, I walked down to his house one night and Mick Mills and Jim Barron were there, and he said, I think that's about it. And it was tough because I thought, you've pulled out everything you can to sign me here, and I've still got my foot in a boot. I can't help you. But then obviously the professional kicks in after that, and I got myself back fit. Brucey comes in and still scored some goals, and we went on to, very similar to Watford did a few years before. I think we won 12 of the last 13 games or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's always the team that finishes 6th have that momentum going into the playoffs. Yeah. And Brucey was brilliant. Just not a coach. But man management, he was brilliant. And just put everybody at ease, because the money that the club had spent assembling the team that ended the season, we were under a bit of pressure to get in the playoffs minimum, to pay for some of those players.
Yeah.
And then obviously you get to the playoffs, you want to win them, don't you?
Yeah. Because we signed Jeff Kenner, Steve Vickers, Stern John. Devlin came back, didn't he?
Debs came back in, So it was
Pebbly, yeah.
We actually.
How does a football club like Birmingham City ever sack a manager like Trevor Francis? He's just been a cult hero throughout his whole career and after. And then, when they're given that opportunity to do that, the book signing session, and they chuck him in the club shop with, not enough books.
Shambles. Yeah. It's all down to results, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. But that season, though, that 01-02 season was just fantastic. Not just because we got promoted, but the whole season, obviously yourself, when Stern come in, Devlin coming back, and obviously Horst was bagging the goals as well. And, I used to love Stan Lazaridis as well, people like that, Brian Hughes. It was a great side, and as a fan now, with the team we've got now, looking back, it's just worlds apart. It really is. And I just hope that we can get something like, if we get something to that level again, it'd just be so good, That
was a great side.
Where Brucey was really good was that, he brought Stern in. Stern was scoring a lot of goals at the end of the season. We all know how good Horst was, but we played two up front. So where Brucey was good is we played 4-4-2. I was playing more left. Yeah,
because you was competing with Stan, weren't you, Tommy? You was competing with Stan for that shirt.
Essentially, what it was, it's not a tactical side of it, but it was, when I was in the team, it was a 4-3-3, because I'm not a left winger, but I had 15 goals in 33 games, so I probably deserved a place in the team. Definitely. But Stern was scoring goals, and Horst needed to be in the team because of what he brought to the group. Yeah. So I wanted to play. So when he asked me and said, listen, I see this left-hand side for you, doesn't mean you're playing left wing. I need you in the box. Every time the ball's on the right-hand side of the pitch, you get in the box. It really suited me. And I still kept the goals ticking along. But because we were winning games, almost every game, with 20 minutes to go, he'd take me off, bring Stan on, and we'd go to a structured 4-4-2 because we were winning the game. Yeah. If we were chasing the game, he wouldn't take a goal scorer off. But Stan was brilliant in his own right at what he did as a wide left player, which I wasn't. Yeah. So I think that's one of Brucey's. It was just his knowledge and experience that gets probably your best players in the team. Yeah. You've got to tweak your principles of how you want to play to do that. Yeah. And he did that with a couple of other, like if you think of the central midfield lads as well. Hughesy never played in every game. Jonty never played every game. No, yeah. But you always had, me, Dev, Stern, and Horst in the team. Yeah. So you're creating goal. If you're creating chances, you need your goal scorers on the pitch, and that's essentially what he did. And he kept us all happy. Yeah. It was one of them. He never lost Stan because Stan wasn't starting games, because he explained to Stan the situation too. Yeah. And then when he did it against Norwich at Cardiff, I was almost pleased because it meant I didn't have to take a penalty. So I'm more than happy to sit in the dugout and watch the ball.
I've got to thank you for that day, mate. Just one of them beautiful moments. Do you remember, right, Birmingham City's mascot?
At the Millennium?
All the time.
Bo Brummie, you mean?
Not the man. Yeah, Bo Brummie. Here's Bo the cat. She's making a weekly appearance on the Tilton Talk Show. Baby, you're a beautiful girl. Off you go. Don't steal my limelight.
That playoff final from the stands was just torture as a fan. I'm not going to lie. Until Darren Carter put that penalty in, it was just like being on a roller coaster for 2 hours, wasn't it? It was just
to be honest, Paul. It was like we still had the Weatherden Cup final in our minds. We think, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah, obviously,
more, haven't we?
obviously with penalties as well, having lost to, obviously, Tommy, you'll remember Watford. Obviously, I won't talk about that much. I remember you with hair in that game, Tommy.
No.
Wasn't a lot of it. I have to say, though, funny you bring that up because, you know, the atmosphere at St Andrews that night when Big Deals scored early on, and we were thinking, oh, God, here we go. The noise in the stadium that night is one of the loudest atmospheres I've ever played in. I remember shouting at another one of the Watford players.
Goosebump alert, goosebump alert, goosebump alert.
Me too. Yeah. But I remember shouting, I was 10 yards away from Peter Kennedy, saying, keep calm, just keep the ball. And I couldn't hear myself speak, and I was screaming as loud as I could. That night, the noise in the stadium when Deal scored, it was one of the reasons that I wanted to come to the club, because the atmosphere was as good. Even though I was an opposition player that night, it was as good as any atmosphere I've.
It's a shame, really. We have supporters even now that they have no idea of that atmosphere, even though it's only 20 years ago. And we try telling them about what it was like, you know.
Oh, in the 70s. Oh,
well, no, not in the 70s, just 20 years ago. You know what I mean? It's crazy, absolutely crazy. And I agree, the atmosphere then, Tommy, oh my life.
Yeah. And it was a really hot night as well, wasn't it? It was a proper summer's night. It was just, you know.
Yeah, it really was. Obviously, we got the better of it with the penalties, and well, we all know if it goes to penalties, it's a toss of a coin. It's just, you know, who holds their nerve. But that genuinely that night taking that penalty is the most nervous I've been in my whole career.
I can imagine.
But and not that it helps you boys, I know that, I understand.
But Alec Chamberlain in goal for Watford that night though was like Superman, wasn't he? He was just saving everything. Unbelievable.
He was incredible. Even in the running, I mean, we'd won 12 of the last 13 or 13 of the last 14 to get in the playoffs. Yeah. And some of the saves he made, and even in the playoff final at Wembley, you know, Ida Good-Johnson had 3 really good chances. I mean, we could have been 3-0 down before we'd scored if it wasn't for Alec Chamberlain. He's you know, one of the unsung heroes. But he kept us in the game at St Andrews and kept us in the game at Wembley.
But it was same, Paul, though, when you look back at the Carling Cup final, and it was off the scale. Brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we need to get... I mean, it'd be so awesome to sit in St Andrews like that again, like it was that night against Watford in the playoffs. Yeah. It was just unbelievable. You could probably count, you know, there's probably been only about 10 occasions like it since, would you say? West Ham, the European nights.
I'm
going to say Ipswich semi-final.
Oh, crikey, the Ipswich one. That was scary,
How old were you, Craig? How old would you have been, Craig?
At that point in time...
43.
I was just getting ready to turn 44, Chris, actually. No, I'd have been in my late 20s at that point in time. But
right, okay.
I've experienced a mixture of atmospheres, and still to this day, even the finals, that Ipswich atmosphere is just the best, and
that's probably what's damaged the stands.
It was fancy.
Yeah, but also pride in making the stand go like this.
Yeah, right.
There were people that were saying
now, Alan, you're doing it
was moving.
But also, Craig, that atmosphere when Blues and Liverpool walked out, and we outsung them. We outsung them.
The wording,
because you know what, we got big gobs us brummies.
There was 2 moments in that playoff final nearly 20 years ago when Devs had a free kick, if you remember. It went about that far over the crossbar, and then Jono hits the post. And I'm starting to think, and I'm sitting there starting to think, it ain't our day. It ain't going to be our day. But then, you know, when Darren Carter puts that penalty in, it was just what a feeling that was when Carter puts that penalty away.
Paul, you're the savant. Who was the Norwich player that came on and then scored?
Ewan Roberts.
Do you know what? The second he came on, I said to my boys, right, he's going to score.
Yeah, well, I saw Darren Eady when I was with work over in Ipswich way, and he said to me that they thought that was it. They thought that was that was it. Like that was a golden goal, but it wasn't. You know, I think they'd stopped the rule the year before or something. So they were all celebrating as though the referee was going to blow the whistle, and that was it. But that wasn't it. You know, they realised if you look at Nigel Worthington, you know, he's telling all his players to go back down the other end because they're all celebrating as though they've won.
It was one of those days, wasn't it, where the atmosphere was incredible. Yeah, the roof was closed. To be honest, in the first half, you couldn't breathe at pitch level because there was nowhere for the smoke to go from the fireworks. So you see the players. I mean, we did a thing a couple of weeks ago with Darren Carter and Devs, where we watched the game back in a cinema in town. I'm sure they're going to use it on their socials soon. I hope that they don't mind me blowing that, but that's what's and the three of us were saying, you know, when you see all of the fireworks, I genuinely, at half time, I was still coughing because there was nowhere for the smoke to go.
I hate them. I absolutely hate them. Yeah. With a passion. They stink. They absolutely stink.
I just remember, was it Atomic Kitten that were playing live before?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, it was. Yeah. Oh, dear.
I nearly knocked one of them over in the tunnel. I'm not sure which one it was, but I ran in after the warm up, and they were coming out to play, and like we all had big studs on because as much as the stadium looked amazing, the pitch wasn't the best because they had it on pallets, didn't they? There was a big thing of it at the time, but it kept tearing up, so you had big studs in. And I've ran down the tunnel. It was like a superstitious thing. I always used to run back into the dressing room. And they were stood in the tunnel. And I've tried to put my brakes on with big studs on the concrete tunnel and gone straight into like a group of them stood there. Nearly went arse over tit. I'm not sure which one it was, but one of them had like almost an elbow coming down the tunnel.
I'm trying to think
that's actually the 30th swear word we've ever had on the Tilton Talk Show in 11 and a half years, right? And I can guarantee you now Barry Fry did 16 of them.
Dom Kavanagh says the Tilton was flexing below our feet during the Watford semi-final. A heartbreaking night, Kevin Poole.
And here's one from Seaport as well. Man United fans protesting tonight. They don't know what it's like to be on your knees. You're
absolutely right. Spot on.
Bang on.
Tommy, going to the game and getting to that penalty stage, Darren Carter getting up there. As a player, how did it feel? Did you think he was going to put that away? And, you know, as he was stepping up, did you give any advice?
No, like I say, I was just pleased that obviously Stan came on. I think he took the third one, which would have been mine if I was still on the pitch.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking once Stan had took his and scored, that made me feel better because if he'd have missed, I'd have felt awful because that should have been mine and I'd have been confident to score. But then I sort of relaxed after Stan had taken his. But Daz was like, I can't explain how relaxed he was for such a young lad.
He's been on the show a couple of times. He said that's exactly how he felt as well.
He was almost to the point. He was so relaxed it made me nervous. You know, but it was just exuberance of youth. He didn't think about, say, me as a 31-year-old. I'd know with the grief that I got if I missed the penalty that we went out. I don't think he, at his age, never thought of it like that. He just seen it as an opportunity.
Yeah, he was just fearless, wasn't he? But we celebrated in the Emerald Club after by St Andrews, and his mum and dad came in. And his dad was literally sat there with about 19 points around him, and he hadn't paid for one of them.
There's a question here from Andrew Driscoll. He says, Tommy, who do you think compares to yourself in the modern game?
Well, that's a good question.
Great question.
Those are always...
It's going to be a difficult one as well.
You always want to play yourself down, don't you?
Yeah. No, build yourself up. Go on.
No,
Ronaldo?
I scored a lot of goals in the Championship and the EFL. I never played an awful lot of Premier League games, but I suppose that, like, my style is similar to like a Deeney and a Shearer type. You know, very, very similar in those moulds. But obviously, I'm the bronze medal out of those. They've scored a lot more Premier League goals than I have. But it's just that I was an old school number 9 that could play on the left wing if it needed to. If I needed to.
Could we just do with one now?
I was just going to say the same thing, Nick. Yeah.
I think at Blues, Tommy. I think at Blues after you, the player that we had probably most like you, I would say, at his game was Gary McSheffrey, because he's from the left scoring goals as well. Yeah, you know, he scored a lot of goals as well for us.
Yeah,
you know,
comparison that is.
Yeah.
I think the key to it was I didn't mind where I played as long as I got chances to score, because I loved scoring goals, just loved it. Even in training, I loved it. You know,
was it Tommy the euphoria of the crowd, or was it just the fact that you have scored a goal?
You know what? I'd say it's more relief, Nick. To be fair, because if you brought whatever club signed me, they brought me in to score goals. So if I scored, I'm doing my job. No matter how many you set up or if you win the game, I was always of the mindset that if I hadn't scored, I hadn't done my job. So it was a case of relief and then euphoria with the supporters. Yeah.
Okay, we lose a game and you haven't scored. What's Tommy Mooney like on that night?
Oh, well, the kids knew they were going to bed before casualty.
What, before there was a casualty?
The kids knew if we won a game, they were allowed to stay up. We'd have a takeaway and they were allowed to stay up and watch.
That is absolutely super.
Yeah, Tommy, a few people on the chat box they've done the comparisons for you. Charlie Austin, Andrew Johnson, Super Kev, there you go, Dugarry, Chris Burke. You're a bit flattered now, aren't you?
Christoph had a much better fringe than I did.
You've had the same start for years, Tommy.
No, yeah.
Did you play with Super Kev, Tommy? Did you play with Kevin Phillips at Watford?
I did, yeah. When he first came in, he was
unreal striker, wasn't he? Oh, what a player.
His progression from when he left Watford and went to Sunderland was as quick as any other player that I've played with.
Yeah,
you know, he probably, I don't know what he would have been, maybe 20, 25, something like that. When he went to Sunderland, between 25 and 28, he'd become an international. Yeah. You know, at Watford, absolutely. Sunderland took a gamble on him because at Watford he wasn't in the team every week.
No,
I was playing with Kev or with somebody else, because he'd come out of non-league. He just didn't have that the day-to-day grit of a goal scorer in the Championship needed.
For me, it was all those last-minute goals that he scored when he came on as a substitute.
Yeah.
Oh man, time after time after time.
But he learned his trade so well, and that's, you know, I've probably never said it to Kev to his face, but I think he learned his trade quicker and better than almost any other player that I can remember during my career.
Outstanding finisher. Him and Mikel Forsell, you know, number 9, you know, out and out centre forwards, just brilliant. Yeah,
it's funny you should mention Kevin, because in a way, I mean, okay, we signed Troy, but I think people were expecting Troy to play week in, week out, score 25 goals. But I always thought he'd be more like a Kevin Phillips, you know, used you know, from the bench, experience, may not score a
impact.
Mark, I do think we were expecting an awful lot more from him than what he's actually given. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I do think Troy's the best finisher at the club.
Yeah, I don't
Premier League quality. Yeah. I mean, Tommy, what's your views on Troy, Tommy?
I'm quite close to Troy. You know, he when he was at Walsall as a kid, that was my last year. So and obviously because of the Watford connection, you know, we speak quite often. And I knew something was in the offing when he FaceTimed me to tell me about the Birmingham move, because he never FaceTimes me. So I knew something was off. And I just, you know, I said to him, it's not going to be as easy as you think, but you can't turn it down. What I would say, fellas, is he's only 33. You know, he looks after himself. He's got an awful lot to do off the pitch. I'd like him to concentrate a little bit more on the pitch.
Yeah.
But because of the 2 seasons that he's had at Watford before he came here, you know, he's not played a lot of football because he's had those niggling injuries and one bad injury at Watford at the end of last season. So he never came to Blues match fit. And then he's got another little niggly injury. I think he needs a run of games. 100% he's the best centre forward that Blues have got at the moment. Whether he's 33 or 35, absolutely. He's still the best player. Yeah. But he cares, and he probably, when you care like that as a player, it makes it more difficult. And he's under an enormous amount of pressure from all of you guys because of, you know, he's coming back to the club and it's his club. But he'll put himself under more pressure than anybody else can. Yeah. But he's big enough and bold enough to be able to take it. Yeah.
To be honest, Tommy, sorry, Paul. I was going to say, to be honest, the amount of sort of this outpouring of emotion on social media, people are writing him off already. I think with a good pre-season, get his injuries out of the way and have one last big season next season, which potentially could be his last, I think we'd be stupid to write him off.
I agree with you. He needs a pre-season under his belt. Listen, whether you're 24,
great call, mate. Great call.
You need a pre-season under your belt. He never had that at Watford. He never had it. No. So he came to you having played probably 30 minutes, maybe an hour's football within the last 4 months before he signed. So, you know, he needs a pre-season under his belt. That'll help him. He probably needs for the manager to know what his best starting team is, because there's been times when he's been fit and Troy hasn't been in it. So you've got to work, like we talked about in the dressing room that I played in with Stern and Horse. You know, you've got to work. A manager's got to work out how to get his best players on the pitch. Yeah. And for me, that's where I'm not sure whether Lee knows what his best team is.
Okay. Well, it took Shay Adams. Obviously, we got 15, 16 million for Shay Adams, and you know he didn't score over 20 goals for about 3 seasons. You know, he scored. I think his top goal scoring season was 7 goals, and then suddenly, bang! You know, we've got a finisher. You know, and I'm hoping. Although he's 33 and he's at a different end of his career, I'm hoping the same thing happens with Troy. You know, hopefully it'll just click. He'll go on a good run. But like you say, Tommy, he needs a run of games. He does need a run of games.
He does. He needs a run of games. But what you get from Troy, and listen, it's difficult talking about him because he's a mate of mine. But what you get from him that supporters don't see is what you get at the training ground. The things he'll do for that group to bring together that a group of men can't necessarily win you games, but a group of men that are cohesive and all going in the same direction. And if one steps out of line, the others bring them back in. That's what you'll get from Troy at the training ground.
Do you think, Tommy, it's a case of him coming in and possibly shaking people out of the comfort zone who've been sat in that comfort zone for the last 5 years, and he's just come in and they don't like it?
Given the opportunity, he's the perfect man to do that. And every dressing room needs that. You know, so it's more difficult to get a player out than it is to get a player in at any football club. Yeah. And you could argue at Birmingham, there's perhaps more that need to go out than more that needs to come in. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Very similar to Watford, you know, right now, who are all but relegated from the Premier League, you know, and probably 24 other clubs around the country, but it's harder to get them out because they're under contract. But what you can do, when you bring in strong leaders into a dressing room, they can sort them out and say, you either pull your weight or you're going to lose everything in here.
Could you see Troy being a manager one day?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he's got the character, hasn't he?
He's got the character. He's doing his badges. I think he'll have an awful lot of options when he decides to go that way. My personal opinion is it's too early for him now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But maybe in a year or two's time, that he'll have that option. Whether he decides to do it or not, he'll have that option.
Tommy, can I say, excuse me, I appreciate how brutally honest you are, mate. No, I mean that because, like, this conversation, and I've proper listened into this in a deep kind of way, and the honesty that's coming out of you tonight, mate, is absolutely superb. Brilliant. Loving it.
I think it's interesting you referenced his off the field stuff. Personally, I always, when he arrived, he's on Talk Sport on a Monday morning and blah blah blah.
I think that's half the problem.
And you wonder, is he going to carry on doing that?
Yeah.
How's it? And obviously his book came out, and obviously he became a bit of a political person. All great things. No criticism of him for doing that, but at the end of the day, you're Birmingham City's centre forward, and we want you concentrating on us. Now, I'm not suggesting he doesn't concentrate on us, but it's.
I'm guessing if he's injured,
so many so many things outside the game.
Yeah. If he's injured, he's got other things to do. If he's got other things to do, why not do them?
Yeah, couple of quick questions for Tommy from earlier. Jez McDonough asked Tommy, who was your football hero growing up?
Oh, I'm glad you picked that one up, Paul, because I was just about to do that, mate.
Yeah. And I'll also throw in who was your team growing up as well? Who was your actual team and as well? That you supported as a kid.
Linked to the two. My dad was still is a massive Liverpool supporter. So I was growing up in the 70s and 80s. I followed Liverpool too, and Kenny Dalglish was my hero.
Okay. I've had the fortune to meet that man, right? And I'll tell you a very quick story about it, Tommy. Right, I did a lot of work for a very well-known tyre company many years ago. My eldest son, who's now 36, was about 7 at the time, and we got given 2 tickets for a Dads and Lads Day at Anfield. And this is when Kenny Dalglish came back to Liverpool managing Blackburn.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I said to my 6-year-old, 7-year-old child at that time, right, there was so many competitions going on, and there was a bottle of Anfield champagne, which I wanted for my museum, right? And that was on one competition, and then there was all sorts of things on other ones, and one of them was guess the goal, right? So I said to Adam, he was 6 or 7 years old. Give Daddy a number between 1 and 90. Let's say he said 23. Give Daddy a number between 1 and 60, 35, right? 23 minutes, 35 seconds. The goal went in at 23 minutes and 35 seconds.
Wow.
The managing directors of Liverpool, Blackburn, Kenny Dalglish, whoever Liverpool's manager, was it Gerard Houllier? Was it? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, mate.
They all came down and they said that was the day, the only day that I've also held the FA Cup. The FA Cup, not a replica. The FA Cup, right? On my son's head. I've got a photograph of it on my phone. And they came down and they said, in the history of Liverpool Football Club, we don't think this has ever been done before, but somebody has guessed not only the minute the goal went in, but the second. Adam Spore. And he was like, "Way!" And he ran towards Kenny Dalglish. Kenny Dalglish picked him up, put him on the side. He was wriggling that much, he fell on the floor. I've still got that football in my museum now tonight. It's still there, mate. And I tell you what, when I'm dead, all my football memorabilia will go to Adam anyway. So it's his anyway. But what an absolute beautiful moment. I love football so much. I love football so much. I love it.
It must have been, Tommy. It must have been special for you getting the winner up for Watford then at Anfield, mustn't it? When you, yeah.
I mean, as you can imagine, it was the first time I'd played at Anfield. I'd been on tours of the stadium with my dad. We used to go to Anfield probably once a season, but we'd always go to Wembley because, ironically, from Middlesbrough, it was easier for us to get to Wembley than it was to Liverpool. So we'd go for a cup final because they were normally in one.
Yeah.
And so I'd been down the steps, touched the plaque as a 8, 9, 10-year-old kid. And then to play there in the Premier League and then score my first Premier League goal there. And my parents were in the away supporters that day. It was pretty special, put it that way.
Yeah.
Because it was Watford's first win in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
So it was a big day for us. But personally, I didn't touch the plaque on the way out, but I certainly touched it on the way in.
You can't beat moments like that, Tommy. You know what? There are times in life when something just happens and they are just undescribable. They're brilliant, right? For me, another one of mine was I went to the new camp just for a visit, right? There was more people at the new camp than there is at St Andrews every week. And there wasn't even a game on, right? Don't have your photograph taken with the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I sat and keep right on to the end of the road. Unfortunately, I didn't video it. Right, I was on my own. I sang keep right on in the new camp on my own from start to finish, and an amazing place, huge. But I tell you what, the views, oh mate, it's so restricted all over the place. It really is. But I understand they're going to build a new one anyway. So,
Tommy, I stumbled on a Southend review video I was watching, and on it,
how did you stumble on that?
Well, I just did.
Can you sleep?
And it was the year Barry Fry left Southampton to come to us.
Southend,
right? Yeah. And I'm watching this review of the season, and Ricky Otto's running rings around everybody, and there's this bloke called Mooney playing centre forward, and I thought, I didn't recognise it because you got hair. But did you play under Barry Fry during that season?
He signed me that season. I'd been at Scarborough for 3 years. Well,
there's no point saying that. Sorry, Tommy, but he signed everybody. He signed the country.
Is that you mean now? He didn't sign?
He signed me that summer, and obviously you mentioned Ricky there, and there's 3 or 4 when he got the Blues job. There's 3 or 4 players, and he tried to bring me to Birmingham then.
Right.
The Southend chairman put a stop to it because he'd taken Ricky, he'd taken a few of the players. I can't remember who they were, but there's 2 or 3 left, and the chairman said, "That's it, no more." And I'd had a half decent start for Baz at Southend. I think 5 goals in my first 10 games in the Championship because I'd never played at that level before. I'd played in League Two for 3 years as a kid at Scarborough. And he tried to take me. Then Peter Taylor came in at Southend, and me and him didn't get on.
Right.
So eventually, later that season, so I actually played 10 games, I think, for Southend that season, and then went to Watford in the March time.
So why didn't you and Peter Taylor get on?
He's not my cup of tea.
Right. Okay. Leave it at that. That's it. I told you earlier.
No, tell us more.
No. We said
yes, he did sign 3 or 4 from Southend the following season, but over the period, and you were the last of the line. There was about 7 players in that Southend side. People like Eddie Edwards and the goalkeeper Sansom. He played for us, and you were the last in the line. But obviously Barry didn't sign you for Birmingham. But I thought, and it was great because Gary Paul, and it was really interesting. And that season, when Barry was there, you were up in going for promotion, and by the time the season finished, this review said you only just stayed up.
That's why I don't like Peter Taylor.
I thought that might be the case.
Let's leave it at that. Question here from Don Kavanagh. Does Tommy ever read fellow players' autobiographies? If so, yes. Which is your favourite?
I don't tend to read autobiographies that much, if I'm honest with you. Particularly not football ones. I've read Troy's just to see if I got a mention.
Did you?
He wasn't particularly kind.
Did we? Really? Did we get mentioned?
Have you spoken to him since?
Yeah, I've spoken to him. I played golf with him last week, actually.
Oh, right, okay. Still
look, when you speak to him next, right, tell him this comes from the heart. All we want him to do is be successful at Blues.
We do,
right?
Yeah. We do.
That's it. And he's iconic. We love him to bits, but we want him to be successful. We want to bang them fecking goals in like there's no tomorrow. Yeah. And
that's all he wants as well, Nick. Don't worry.
I know. But tell him.
There's no confliction. That's all he wants.
We don't hate him. We love Troy Deeney. Especially when he scored against us.
There's a couple of comments that have come in. One great question as well. But just to clarify things, we do actually have a listener called Pete Taylor, and he's just shouting out that it's fake news. He's never met Tommy Mooney. The question that came in was, obviously, you've got a very close friend and good friend of the show in Paul Robinson.
Yeah.
And the question is, in regards to your playing time, who was the hardest defender or defender you hated playing against the most?
I would say the best defender I played against, the most difficult during my era, would be Sol Campbell and Rio Ferdinand. The two hardest I found. With Sol Campbell, he gave me a 3-yard start in a race over 10 yards and beat me by 5 yards. He was that quick.
Yeah, brilliant.
Trying to work that out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was so quick and strong. It was just, I loved the mental side of the individual battle, me against whoever was marking me. I loved it. I never worked out how to play against those two. And then there's a hardest I probably played against. There was a lad, you might remember, played for Sheffield United called Chris Morgan.
Yeah.
He was literally, I mean, how my eye sockets and nose stayed in one piece when I played against him. But he was always one of those. He knew he was going to get it back from me or whoever he played against, but he just cracked on with it. And I liked that personality. I didn't want to see people, when I took an elbow, I never moaned about it. I just thought, right, how quick am I going to retaliate? And I like that sort of mentality to a professional player. You can hurt people in a tackle. It doesn't have to be a foul.
Yeah.
You can be strong and you can be hard. You don't have to be nasty.
Yeah.
And I like playing against those strong, hard players.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got glasses on. You got glasses on now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you need glasses when you were playing?
No. I started wearing these, and I only need them to read and see you guys.
I'd take them off if I were you, kid.
Yeah, especially when you've got to look at Mark.
So what the players do that need a pair of glasses? Do they wear contacts during a game? Because I mean, then you get an elbow in one of them, and that could be blinding you, couldn't it?
Yeah, no, a lot. You'd be surprised how many players wear lenses. Yeah,
really?
Fortunately, I never had to. I've been wearing these for maybe 10 years just to read long after I retired.
Probably the most ad hoc question you've ever had in your life, mate.
It's a first. It's a first, Nick. I've never been asked about my glasses.
I was just going to say, Paul, before we come back to Tommy and the 1 to 11 and so forth, and the Who. Don't forget the Who.
Yeah.
The Who. There is a few questions I asked earlier on. Some of them range from the daft to the stupid, but I think we should address these really. We've talked about Dina. Do we think he's going to be head coach? Well, I think one day, maybe. One day. We agreed on that? Yeah.
It's probably destined to be, Chris, to be honest.
Oh, I think so. I think so too, yeah. And what do we think about the planned hostile protests? Do we think, should we give it airtime?
I'm all for it outside the ground, but I mean inside the ground as well, but not during the game. I don't think during the game, to interrupt the game is the way forward, in my opinion. I think it's best to do it in the car park outside, like we have been doing. Yeah. But yeah, I'm all for the change of ownership, just like anybody else.
Peaceful protests.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, peaceful protests is my opinion. Yeah.
Young players to look out for next season.
What, for us?
No,
Nico. Nico Gordon's going to be class.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping. Sorry, Mark. I'm hoping Josh Andrews breaks in as well from the under-23s, because he's been out on loan, hasn't he? He scored a few goals for the under-23s, and they call him the baby. They call him the baby Zigic, don't they? Yeah. So, have you seen much of him, Tommy?
I've seen a couple of the games this season. Yeah, he's got a chance, the lad.
Yeah. Okay. Fingers crossed for him then.
But having said that, Tommy, you know what? When you've got a chance, you've got to take it.
Yeah.
And also, who is the most likely to appear on the last ever show? Is it Paul Schwen, Sugar, or Mr. Fun? Okay, so
Who knows that? I want a name. I want to name.
Sure guys in the running.
Oh my God.
Gary Turner allegedly says, why is Bowyer being stitched up by Gardner and Deeney? Okay. Which young players would you like to see? I want to see Odin Bailey, and Josh Andrews says Stephen Gill. Keith Altman says, what time is the show? And again, we're back to the rumours of.
Let's hope it happens, because we've got good people in the club, in important positions now. Obviously,
backroom staff,
Craig Gardner, Ian Dutton. What they're doing has been. I think what they're doing has been good, and I'd like to see Lee Bowyer give them more time as well.
Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely.
We did say last week, And
I think
we did a poll.
Yeah, and I think with the right backing, it can work if we just give it a bit more time. And I've said on here before, I know they lost 7-0 tonight, but Luton have had an unreal season. And you look at Huddersfield up there, you look at Coventry having a decent season.
Sales,
and they've all been in worse positions than us with the same managers, So if you give a manager a bit of time, he can turn it round, it can get better. And I don't think we've had much luck this season with officials' decisions and injuries. So if we can get a little bit more luck, get the wage bill down a bit, and try and get some, because sometimes most of the best players that we've signed have either been free transfers
on loans,
or loans, or
loans,
So I mean, Bakuna's been a really good signing, hasn't he? And he was like 4.
I think, I think that was a cracking signing. That was,
whether or not we can get Hernandez next season, I'd love to think we could, but I don't think we will.
I think we know he's going down.
Taylor as well.
What about Chong?
Chong, if we got a chance to get in Chong as well, that'd be good.
I know he's had an injury, Paul, but wow, he was brilliant early part of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he's been unlucky with injuries and so forth.
I think when you've got probably he would have shown to be probably the best player in the division. We had the best goalkeeper in the division and perhaps the second best goalkeeper at the start of the season. And we lost half a season of both of them.
Exactly.
And we lost Sanderson and we lost McCree, and we got a centre half who could be the next Rio Ferdinand, and we lost him. I really wonder sometimes when I read the complaints, what are we actually expecting here? I know we expect better than what we've got, but I'm going back to my friend Mark here. We'd have done really, with that situation, we'd have done really well to start to get halfway with the circumstances of our season. And we can blame this person, that person, or whatever. But the fact is, we pulled master strokes to get a team out some weeks.
I will say
don't forget that back in our day, we all remind me, Alan, who it was, because I can't remember. Right, and we were all asked to chip in to buy a player.
Oh yeah,
Keskis or Brian Roberts.
No,
Brian Roberts.
Brian Roberts, Harry.
Roberts.
Harry Roberts.
I think for me, the sad thing for me is there's so many fans around me where I sit, that have been going 25 plus years as season ticket holders that are talking about not going back next season.
It's sad. It was the same at Cardiff on Saturday. I was talking to a few people, and a lot of people saying that's it, I'm done. That I'm done after this season. I've had it. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, but
however, if something major happens, right? If something really major happens, like i.e., we get rid of these horrible current owners that have dragged our club to the depths of destruction, if we can get rid of them and get somebody who cares and wants to invest in the name Birmingham, second biggest city in the world, in the country.
Right, yeah.
Second biggest city in the country.
Yeah. The potential.
And there's not a football team called London.
No, the potential there is fantastic. It really is.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tommy, we asked you to pick your 1 to 11, didn't we, from the players you played with for us? Before you do it, though, I just want to ask you, who was the best player you played with for us?
For Blues?
Yeah.
That's a really easy one. The most impressive one was Dugarry. When Christoph came in, he was. I never got to play with him in a league game, but when he came into the group, and obviously that was the year where I was going back out on loan to Championship teams. But for somebody who's won the World Cup and the Euros, for him to just come into our dressing room the way he was, as a person, as a man, which is essentially how I judge people before them as a footballer, he was just unbelievable. Yeah. But then once you were on the training pitch, and then we played together in games behind closed doors, he knew what he was doing with his fifth touch before he took his first one.
Wow.
And that was rare. That was very rare. I mean, I was lucky. I played for 21 years as a pro. I've never seen anybody with his ability.
No, he was unbelievable. Oh, he was in Zidane's 1-11, wasn't he? Zidane picked the best players he'd ever played with in his career, and he was in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were. I mean, their best mate. Between the two of them, they own Bordeaux. So whatever vineyards that they've got, but Christophe used to ring Zidane every day at lunch, and we used to sit around his phone and just listen to Zidane's phone.
What a player!
Like, I used to leave, and I'd ring my dad up and say, "I've just been speaking to Zinedine Zidane," and I was just listening to Christophe speaking to him.
Okay, so our last game then is against Blackburn this coming Saturday. Is it Saturday? 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Unfortunately, for reasons beyond my control, and I cannot go into details, but I will on the next show that we do, I cannot go, right? But it's nothing. I just simply can't go into details, right? Okay.
Don't they?
Come on, mate. I tell you what. By next season, get the stadium sorted, get the club sold, find out who owns the stadium, buy it back. Let's be Birmingham City again, once again. Let's play 4-4-2. Let's rip this league to shreds, please.
So anyway,
Paul, who?
Tommy's 1-11. Sorry, we just got to go through your 1-11.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll take it. You're playing 4-4-2, Tommy.
I'm going to play 4-4-2 just to get a couple of people in the team. Okay. Like I said earlier on, you've got to get your best players on the pitch. I think a couple of them will surprise you, but I'm happy to explain my reasons why.
Go for it then.
Obviously, I've got Nico Vassen in goal.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
We signed on the same day. We were in the hotel for 3 months together before we moved into our houses. We were roommates, but he was the only goalkeeper that I played with at Birmingham. So he's not there by default. He's there because he's a good goalie, but he is the only goalie I played with at Birmingham.
Okay.
And then I've gone a back four, Granger at left back.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I'm sure he gets in most people's of my era at Birmingham. Michael Johnson, left-hand side centre-back.
Yep.
Just did everything and brilliant in the dressing room. And then I've gone for Steve Vickers at centre-half.
Okay, explain that one.
The way that he came in and just calmed everybody down.
Really?
You're right. Emotion running. He'd done it all before, seen it all before at Birmingham. He was just brilliant and another great human being.
I think every time, Tommy, we've got out of this league into the Premier League, on like, the 3 or 4 occasions we've done it, we've always had, the players that are 32, 33, 34 upwards,
Yeah. Craig Courtney, can we work on Steve Vickers, please, for a show?
We can try.
Bless you. Cheers. Off you go, Tommy.
Only got a couple of weeks to do it.
At right back, the obvious choice would be Jeff Kenner, but I'm going to go for Nicky Eden. And I'll tell you why. Because if I look back on a lot of my goals for Birmingham, the year we were promoted, until Jeff came, Chunky was in the team. Yeah. So Chunky was brilliant for me because I knew whenever he got the ball, he'd take one touch and whip across him.
Okay.
Whenever he got the ball in the right back spot, he'd take one touch and put it in the channel. So he was perfect for me personally. So it's probably a selfish choice, but he was perfect for me because I knew what he was going to do. So therefore, I knew what I needed to do.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's the reason I put Chunky in at right back. Midfield, I've gone for a 4 just so I can get me 2 wide players in Stan Lazaridis and obviously we've explained the relationship that Stan and I had, and between the two of us playing that one role. But he was again another great bloke. The biggest head you've ever seen in football.
I know.
Literally.
I know. Yeah.
but loved the banter. He had a 65-inch Sky Glass screen for a forehead before Sky Glass even thought of it. But loved the banter, Lazar, and he was brilliant in the dressing room. On the other side, I've got to go for Devs because very similar to Chunky. I knew he wouldn't have one touch. That was the thing with Dev. You knew he'd have 4 or 5 touches, move the ball quickly, and then put a cross in. So he was a pleasure to play with in that respect. Middle of the park, I've gone for Stephen Clements. I just think he was pure class.
Excellent.
Pure class in possession of the ball.
Yeah.
And the other one would be Martin O'Connor.
Yeah.
I've turned down and I've toyed with it, but there's a spell when things weren't going well for Trevor. Martin got the dressing room together and kept it together.
Yeah.
And I like that sort of footballer and person. And he was just brilliant in the dressing room. Never played at all when Brucey came in, but was still just as happy when we got promoted as everybody else. He was a proper team player, and I like that.
Yeah. Top man, top bloke. We've had Martin on the show as well. Top bloke. Top bloke. Yeah.
Brilliant. I still call him Skip. He's one of them.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah. Everybody.
Whenever anybody comes on who's played with Martin, he's always in the team.
He's always in the team.
Always.
Yeah.
He's got horrible teeth, but he's a great bloke.
He keeps trying to tell us he's paid you a tenner each to put him in.
Boys had to take a second job.
It cost him more than that. And then I go, my front two, we've already mentioned one of them, Christoph. Genuinely the best footballer I've ever had the pleasure to be on a pitch with, albeit not in a first team game. And then the other one is my northern mate, Jeff Horsfield.
Brilliant, Jeff.
Because again, it wasn't our ability on the pitch that got us promoted. It was the dressing room. I firmly believe that.
Yeah.
And the characters we had in that dressing room, the weak ones didn't last long because it was a horrible, harsh dressing room, but in a good way.
Yeah.
The banter was the rawest I've ever experienced. But that tells you what a group of men it was. You could say anything you wanted to any of those players and they'd take it in the right way. And I genuinely think that's what Brucey's seen, and that's what Brucey managed. He managed the egos and the personalities in that dressing room.
Yeah.
And just said, go out and play.
Any good pranks you can tell us about Tommy that happened amongst the group?
Most of them are not fit for air.
Okay, let's have one of them.
Well, neither of you have got any anyway, so it don't really matter.
Tommy, we've had Barry Fry on. I rest my case.
I've got a bleep button. Manchester United 2, Brentford 0.
Who cares?
I came back from my loan spell at Stoke, and
I live near there.
We'd signed Sav by then, and I had a really good peg. Just by chance, when I signed, the peg was available. I like to be quite near the door. I don't want to be in the middle of a wall. So where I got changed at the training ground was a good peg. So I kept it. Then when I went out to Stoke, come back, and Sav was using my peg. So as you can imagine, I politely asked him to remove his clothes from my peg. And he gave me a mouthful of abuse, as you'd expect from Sav. Yeah. So I said to him, well, listen, I'm going to go and get my ankle strapped. If you haven't moved your stuff, I'm going to put it in the bath. So I came back, got my ankle strapped, and he went home in wet clothes, put it that way.
I bet he laughed about it, though.
No, he didn't. He was an angry man, but he wasn't going to come after me, was he?
No. One Tommy Mooney. There's only one Tommy Mooney.
Right, Tommy, what we do now is we do something. You've heard Chris press the button. It's gone ooh a few times tonight, and we've actually got a little task for you now called ooh. So Chris is going to play someone speaking now that was in the squad. I'm not going to say you played with him because you've already kind of given that away, but he was in the squad the season that you was. And he's going to play him talking for 10 seconds. So we want to see if you can get him. Who is this?
Okay, and none of us have heard this either, so it's going to be okay. Here we go. Hope it's the right one there, Paul.
It brings back the memory of
Sorry, but
I was just going to say, Tommy, if you think you know who it is, right, just give us the first letter of his surname, and we'll see if our viewers can get it.
Right.
Okay. Got to make sure. Here we go.
It brings back the memory of sort of being on the pitch, as I said to you before, looking at the scenes and seeing it unfold and seeing this sort of wave of aggression.
There we go. Very short.
You want it again, Tommy?
Yeah, go on, let me hear it again. Is that from the promotion year or from the Premier League?
I can't give you any more clues, mate. Sorry.
No. He was in the promotion.
Oh, Paul, you let the side down.
Go on then. Give me another go.
It brings back the memory of sort of being on the pitch, as I said to you before, looking at the scenes and seeing it unfold and seeing this sort of wave of aggression.
So he played for us in the season we got promoted. That's all I'll say.
I haven't got a clue.
No idea. No.
Because Holsworth says Danny Twine.
That's a good effort, isn't it? But it's not.
No.
I sound like Roy Walker now, don't I? That's good, but it's not right.
It's not right.
That's like Jeff Kenner.
Adam says Horsfield. No.
Come on, Tommy, you got 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
He came in on loan for a short spell when we had a few difficulties in a certain position. That's all I'll say. That's another clue.
Oh, hang on. I thought that was the bloke talking then.
No, that was me. Go on, play once more, Chris. Once more.
It brings back the memory of sort of being on the pitch, as I said to you before, looking at the scenes and seeing it unfold and seeing this sort of wave of aggression.
That sounds like a Manchester accent. I can't.
I'm going to go H. Am I right, Paul, or not?
No.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but Dave Twine, who said Holdsworth, you're wrong. Adam BCFC Walsh, who said Horsfield, you're wrong.
It's not Nicky Eden either.
No.
So
it's a Manchester accent.
Last clue then. He came to help us in goal because I think we were really struggling in goal. I think Nico Vasson got injured.
Andy Marriott?
No, not Andy Marriott. No, that was the Premier League. So it's the season before, isn't it, in the Championship?
What club did he come from?
I think he came in on loan from Sheffield United. Mark's got it now, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, Mark knows anyway. Yeah.
I know anyway.
Yeah, you know anyway. He played about half a dozen games. We had him on loan. It was before Bruce came.
I bet it was when I broke my ankle, wasn't it? I probably never played with him.
That's probably why you never played with him. Yeah, Dave Twine's got it.
Is it Kelly?
Yes. Yeah, it's
Yay!
Kelly.
Here we go. We're into the last 15 minutes of the show, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, because it's been the snooker finals this weekend, bank holiday weekend, of course, anything to do with snooker and football. Anything to do with snooker and football. And I'm going to start you off with Frank Hugh Drew. Ooh.
Well, I think this is an episode of Tilton Talk Show.
Whoa. So it's more than people.
I was going to say, before we're waiting for a few more to come through, a big game yesterday at St Andrews for the Birmingham City ladies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Such a shame to lose the game to, shall we say, probably the most dubious penalty I have seen. But they've still put up a good show. Still 2 games to go, so still mathematically possible. It's got to be tough, but it's still mathematically possible to stop.
Craig, did you see the crowd at Newcastle yesterday?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
20,000, yeah.
No, I'm thinking, that's a big crowd for Newcastle, but then somebody told me they're in the fourth tier.
Yeah.
It's
So
incredible.
from a perspective of where we are, you know, we've got a few hundred that come down to St Andrews, but you look at the general attendances across the Ladies Premier League, and it's getting bigger all the time. But yeah. Newcastle, they're
22,000.
lower tiers than 22,000.
Fourth tier. In the
Okay,
league
so we've
game.
got
That's
Alan Ball, Ricky Potto, Kingsley Blackball, Graham Potter, Alan Saint Maximum. Right, okay, we'll
that's a good one.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Alan Saint Maximum, that's a good one, isn't it?
Right,
That's very good.
Ladies and gents, next Monday night, I'm unfortunately I can't be with you next Monday night because I've got some.
Nobody will be here next.
Nobody's here next
Nobody will
Monday
be
night,
here.
Are we not doing one?
No.
Yep.
Oh,
No.
Chris, I'm going to miss you so much.
The next show is on the next show, and the last show is on the 23rd of May.
Okay. Unfortunately, my beautiful Auntie June passed away a couple of weeks ago. And my Auntie June was the wife of my Uncle Fred, who took me to my first game. My cousin Steve, Timmy Dawson, who's also sadly passed away, and my dad. And it's a funeral next Monday. So, yeah. Nah.
Dealey had a ball over a pocket.
Had a ball over a pocket.
George Rest.
George Rest.
Very good.
Oh, Tom, I love that one, mate. I love that one.
You got any, Tommy?
Dear.
Tommy, any ideas on this word association, snooker and football?
No.
Me neither.
Nick, we've got
snooker.
Paul Gill with Frank Rakoveni.
That's a good one.
Dealey
What
had
about-
a long shot.
What about Steve Crucible?
Steve Crucible. I've never heard of anybody called that.
Oh, as in Bruce.
Bruce.
Oh, Brucible. Oh,
Crucible.
Brucible. Oh,
Crucible.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wrong one, that was.
Wrong one.
Wrong one, hang on. That's it. Gary Paul, Bomber Brown,
Frank Shay.
Frame Martin.
John Frame.
Oh, I like John
Right.
Frame. I like John Frame. That's there. It's up there.
Also got a shout out. Congratulations to Solihull Moors. I think they've got 3-4 games to go and securing a playoff spot.
Playoff.
Yet again, a phenomenal season. Let's hope this time they can do it into the Football League.
I was
It's
talking to
brilliant to see them there.
somebody earlier about this as well. I mean, if they do get promotion, how do we think they're going to get on in League Two?
Bomber Brown. Sorry.
I think they'll obviously have more resources, won't they? So there's no reason why they can't do all right.
Because I mean,
I think they've
what
got
can
a
the ground
great
hold?
bunch around them as well. People that
Yeah,
run
it's
the club are superb.
It's a well-run club. It really is, yeah. But I mean, the ground capacity is what? Something they say 5,000, but I mean, it was 3,500. And it was sold out. So
the new stand's nice, isn't it? I've been there. I went there in the FA Cup against Wigan. It's a nice ground. Yeah, it's looking good now.
Be interesting.
Can you imagine if we got them in the League Cup?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
At either ground, really. It'd be interesting at either ground, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Chris, we've got Ray Hobro Reading coming in.
Go on, Craig.
I was just going to say there's a couple of people that have passed comments and they're basically saying that if people can go down and demonstrate at St Andrews, then can they start a demonstration to stop us from stopping the show? So,
No.
Look.
Was that Russian player, wasn't it?
Stop.
All good things come to an end.
Otto, Mark, Craig, Paul, Tommy, Chris, me. No matter what, right? The show will go on.
You got all the gear there, Nick?
No, do you know what I've got? I've got Chris Browne, who's going to be the best man at my wedding in July, right? Because I love that man with all my heart, soul, and everything, right? He has done more for me than he ever knows. He cooked me a piece of toast one night when I was starving, right? And he supplied wasabi peas. The Tilton Talk Show will not end. End of. We'll be back in 23.
Last question from me for Tommy. Best piece of advice you were given, Tommy, in your career?
Never go on Tilton Talk Show.
Mark, what you been eating vinegar off a fork or something, mate?
Wait till you retire before you do a podcast.
Yeah.
I think I was always taught the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think as a centre forward, that it's often worth keeping that in mind.
Yeah. I'm a salesman. I'm a salesman. It's exactly the same in my trade as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get that. I get all of it. Right, Blues.
Violet
Blues.
Stone, Chris Browne balls.
Yeah.
Sullivan's just winning the frame. He's won it.
Yeah, he won it. Oh, yeah.
Has he won it, has he? Oh.
Yeah. It's 7 times now, and he's matched Stephen Hendry, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the greatest, isn't he? Ronnie,
I am not, Paul. I'm disgraced that you've used the word Hendry on the show. Ugh.
What? Oh. It's spelt differently, Nick.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's
it's
all right.
spelt with a Y. It's spelt with a Y.
It's acceptable. That's acceptable. Wow, Tommy Mooney. Never in my life did I think I'd get the opportunity to talk to you, mate. And probably Mark, Craig, Alan, Chris and Paul thought the same, because you know what, we saw you at St Andrews, man, you were a machine, and we knew that when Tommy Mooney had got that ball, it was going in. You've been an absolute gentleman tonight, sir, an absolute gentleman, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and we immortalise every single one of our shows, right, so that they will always be there for future generations to look up and listen to if they choose to do so. And wow, what a team we've got around us. Paul Hipkiss, right? I know you've been poorly for a few weeks, mate. I'm so glad to see you back on the road again, bud. I know it's not I know it's not quite right yet, mate, but you'll get there. Do you know why you'll get there? Because we've all got our arms around you. Every one of us. Every single one of us. Mark Andrew Adams, he turns up in a bathrobe every week. For Christ's sake, no other radio show or you know, blog like this could ever contemplate turning up in a bathrobe every week. And then we've got the chairman of the board, the lovely Alan Mott, and is he older than Linda? Isn't he? We'll have a competition soon, ladies and gents.
It'll be my birthday the week of the next show.
Happy birthday to you.
Just save it.
Oh, have I ever mentioned it's my birthday on Christmas Day?
No, never.
Never I didn't think I had, because it's not an interesting subject.
He didn't say it was the first Christmas Day.
Alan, what a takedown that was. I've got some comebacks, but they're probably far too rude to use, mate.
Well, just quickly, Nick.
Yeah, go, Paul.
Keith Harborne's asking your prediction for Saturday, Tommy. Blues v Blackburn at St Andrews.
I think it'd be a Blues win, not necessarily just because of the form and the better performance at Cardiff, but I think it's over for Blackburn, isn't it? And they're in free for all. So
it is, Tommy. But you know what? It's not over for us, because we need that win to just keep us smiling through the summer.
Well, and that's it. It's back at St Andrews, isn't it? It's always if you look at the end of the season, no matter where you finish in the league, even if there's nothing on the game. If your last game is at home, then in theory there is something on it, isn't there? Because you're playing for your place in the team next season.
What I'm going to ask you, every single Birmingham City player, go out there and give it the lot. Give it the Mooney. That's all I'm asking, right? Give it the Mooney. No, because there's no good turning up against Cardiff and saying, "Oh, we're on the beach." No. There's one game to go. And if it hadn't been for points deducted, we would have been relegated this season. That's the truth of it. And that cannot happen next year.
Yeah, it's getting a bit repetitive, isn't it? Every single season, being in the same place all the time. And I honestly think it's changing the manager every season that's causing it, really, if I'm honest.
Oh, ridiculous, mate. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Just stick with him.
Can you imagine what a new manager would have to do with that squad?
Exactly.
People we own, people we don't own, people who are out of contract, people who are in contract. And he wants to bring in 6 players of his own. Couldn't do it. It's impossible.
No.
Yeah. I'm with you. Okay, so the rebuild has to be slow. It has to be controlled, but it has to be, because we cannot stand this anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Tilton Talk Show on a Monday night, 7:30 through till 9, sponsored by Boyle Sports, the principal sponsor of Birmingham City Football Club, M&A Riley, our good old French polishers, and of course the Garrison Coffee Company. We have been in the presence tonight of the wonderful chairman of the board, Alan Martin.
Good evening, everybody. Have a good bank holiday.
Alan, sorry, it's good night, everybody.
Oh, yeah. I'm watching Ronnie. Good night, everybody. God bless you all.
My old mate Craig Courtney was such a lovely smile.
Good evening, all, and don't forget,
good night, all.
Good night, all. Good evening. Final show, 23rd. It's going to be a special one. We've got the one and only Ian Dutton joining us.
Ian Dutton.
Couple of weeks to think of your questions, but please, we'll get as many as we can asked. Send them through in advance, and we'll make sure they're there.
Great to know that we've got interaction with the club now, right? Great to know. And please, gentlemen that are on Zoom tonight, please don't go after this, because there's something I need to tell you. Right? Thanks. Oh, as always, the one and only. I mean, like, who turns up in a robe? Mark Adams. God bless you, mate. Love you.
I hope you all have a brilliant week, and see you soon.
Mark, Stephen Gill has said he hopes at the end of the season you wash your robe, because it's got a smell by now.
It smells a bit like, a bit vinegary. But
that's absolutely awful.
I'm only joking.
It must smell like that old flag we used to pass around the cop and tilt.
Yeah.
And it's great to see him. Brilliant. It's great to see him back. I know you're not 100% yet, Paul, but you'll get there. And you've got all our support and all our love with you. Great guy. An incredible memory. I hate you, Paul Hipkiss.
Thanks, Nick. Good night, all.
God bless you, mate. Take care.
We'll support you till the end of the day. We're so happy following the blues. We love you, what more